All right, so let's end this off by talking a little comic book movies because, after all, that's kind of one of the main focal points of Fanboys Anonymous. We were talking about movies that have a fourth one, and one that we can kind of talk about here just to start this off is that they were originally going to do a fourth Spider-Man film of the Sam Raimi franchise, and thankfully they didn't because the way that, even though Amazing Spider-Man wasn't absolutely amazing, um, the way that they were going to do the fourth one was going to be so awful with Vulture and Vulturess and all this other kind of bullshit. There's a movie that thankfully we avoided.
Yeah, well, I also think the third Spider-Man movie was so epically terrible that Sam Raimi just didn't want any part of it.
Well, that's all Sam Raimi's fault too. We could go into that another day when we talk some Spider-Man things, but he was just a petulant little fanboy himself and wanted Sandman in there and cried until he got his way.
I thought it was negligence on his part though as well. He didn't know who Venom was. Come on, fuck! You don't know who Venom was. You cast Topher Grace as Venom.
Well, that's a trilogy right there that the first one is nearly perfect in my mind.
Yeah.
The second one, a lot of people praise a whole lot. In retrospect, I don't like as much as I originally did, and the third one's just garbage.
Yeah, that 15 minutes of him dancing in the middle of the street with his fucking emo haircut, I never wanted to walk out of a movie so much before in my life.
Yeah, when Tobey Maguire did that, I think even he probably sat there thinking, "What the fuck am I doing?"
Why am I
probably
killing my
fucking-
career?
He probably liked it.
Well, he probably liked that paycheck that he got from it, but I'm sure once
Yeah.
people saw its reaction and, like, I'm sure any public appearance he's ever made, people have to ask him, dude, seriously, what the fuck was up with that? Why emo Spider-Man? Why? Why?
He ends up bringing that into The Great Gatsby.
See, that okay, I could understand him being emo in Great Gatsby, but not in Spider-Man.
Spider-Man doesn't. His whole life is emo, but on the same scale, you don't. He's got a symbiote costume on. He's supposed to be this ruthless killer. He's not supposed to be walking around going, Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, pointing.
Let's
The
dance
pointing.
with a girl at a bar to make my girlfriend jealous.
It was the pointing that, like, when he's walking down the street pointing to different women, like, hey, I never wanted to commit jihad so much in my life.
Yeah, have you ever tried pointing?
It hurts.
And walking down the street to the theme song from Saturday Night Fever, yeah, no, I'm good.
Were you guys disappointed that Fantastic Four didn't get a third film?
Fantastic.
That disaster train just. You know what? I'm so glad it didn't because it gave us Captain America.
Yes.
I'm glad it didn't because it would have sucked.
Yeah, well,
It's just-
obviously speaking.
Yeah,
But
I
the
mean,
thing is, it is getting a third movie.
that's a reboot.
Oh, it's a reboot.
Yeah.
They
Oh.
Has that gone back to Marvel Studios or?
No, it's going to be a part of the Fox cinematic franchise thing where they're kind of including the X-Men, the Wolverine, the new Wolverine film, and the other Days of Future Past and all that.
I think they should just work out an agreement with Disney just to have these movies sort of combined in the same. Actually, I don't really want to associate X-Men, The Last Stand with anything that Marvel's doing at the moment.
No, but I get what you're saying because I would love to see all of the rights to all the Marvel properties owned by one company, just like DC is. Because again, we would get a Secret Wars movie. Hallelujah!
And also the fact that I want to see Jackman be Wolverine for Marvel Studios before it's too late, because eventually he's gonna probably end up dropping the mantle, and I don't really want to see him end it with Fox and their bad movies.
Well, the way that he is so willing to do that in every movie, like he just wants to be Wolverine forever. The way that he's doing that, I wouldn't be surprised if they did an Old Man Logan film down the line.
You know what? If they do, that would be totally awesome. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I love Old Man Logan. It's one of my favorite books.
I love
I have to
anything.
write an article about it in some fanboy site.
Potentially anonymously.
Exactly.
Yes,
Shallow and pedantic.
I agree.
wait.
Shallow and pedantic.
Are you saying he's going to talk about it on your radio show?
Maybe. Maybe.
Well, that brings up you brought up the X-Men one with Last Stand. Awful.
God. I went to see that in the cinema, that piece of garbage. I went there with 4 women, right? All of them as clueless as the last. Now, I sat there and I was literally punching my chair as this film was progressing because it was that shit. And then with that, it just went totally down the fucking... especially with the whole killing off Scott Summers, Professor X, and killing off freaking... Oh, who else was it?
It's everybody.
Yeah, every person that mattered in the movie, that had substance, and leaving Halle Berry to freaking helm the film and talk for nearly the goddamn total of the movie. Yeah, I didn't even like her in Catwoman. Why the fuck would you give her lines in The Last Stand? Seriously. Shut the fuck up, Storm. Just, oh, God.
Is there anybody who liked her in Catwoman, though?
I had to have a shower after that. I've never had to have a shower. You know, the only movie I liked Halle Berry in was freaking Monster, and that's because I get to see her topless.
Michael Burhan just said, I have never had to have a shower.
Exactly. After actually seeing someone with clothes on in a movie.
Now, you had something to say about Fantastic Four, right, Sean?
I was going to talk about how the biggest tragedy about Fantastic Four being Fox, with Marvel, the majority of Marvel being Disney, and the licensing issues are that I think the characters in Fantastic Four would lend themselves extraordinarily well to what they're trying to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is just being able to include major characters like the Fantastic Four and like Doctor Doom could lend themselves to making a much stronger trilogy of Avengers movies, even, because if they wanted to, they could include Doctor Doom and explore more of like the Infinity Gauntlet and a whole bunch of awesome other nerdy things that we'll never get to see because of legal bullshit.
Especially because, I don't know if you mentioned this at all during my little hiatus, but Marvel just got the rights to Daredevil back. So,
I'm so happy about that.
So Fox is going to really want to hold on to Fantastic Four now that they lost Daredevil.
Well, I don't think they were going to do anything with it anyway.
Yeah. How much do you think it would cost Disney to buy the rights from the remaining properties that are owned by other companies like Sony and Fox? How much do you think?
Well, they did it with Paramount. They did that exactly with what because Paramount used to have the rights to the Iron Man franchise. If you guys remember, they were distributing it.
Yeah.
And then Disney bought the rights to Iron Man 2 and 3 by letting Paramount share in the distribution rights of the Avengers movie, which was more profitable in the long run. And by doing that, they allowed them to secure the rights for the property for the said Avengers movie, and also for the rest of the Iron Man franchise, which will be now distributed by Disney. There's no reason why they can't do this. They can co-distribute with the other, companies, and 9 times out of 10 they'll probably have a better way, a better agreement, because they'll come out with a profit by allowing Marvel to actually, foresee their vision instead of putting out useless X-Men movies that make you want to kill yourself after watching it.
Yeah, like Origins.
Oh God!
No.
Don't even talk about that piece of shit. The whole Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, and who the fuck is this guy?
Gambit. That's all I'm gonna say. Gambit.
The one who basically was talking with an accent and then suddenly broke his accent and then back into his accent again. He sounded like he was retarded.
That doesn't grind my gears as much as the spinny pole helicopter thing that he does when he climbs up the building. That again, I fucking wanted to kill somebody.
And the actor who was in that, who played Gambit, actually did a movie for Disney as well, where he ended up going bust before the movie's completed its release in cinemas. What was it called? It was
the John Carter movie.
Yes.
And he was the lead in Battleship when that sank too.
Yeah,
pun intended.
He doesn't have a good lead status, does he?
No, his star has faded.
That pun was intended.
Very much so.
Unbankable.
But
he's like the reverse Robert Downey Jr. Just saying.
He's just as unreliable as what Robert Downey Jr. used to be.
That was in Danny Jr.'s defense, he was coked up most of the time and seeing hookers in motel rooms. So, that's in his defense. This guy was just shit.
But one trilogy that really worked was the Dark Knight trilogy.
What's up?
It did. It worked really well because, first off, Nolan directing a comic book movie was pretty mind-blowing because by all accounts, this man is a fantastic director, and the quality of films he was doing before Batman Begins, just I never saw this kind of film coming from this man, and he didn't treat it like a trilogy, partially because he never intended to make a trilogy, but he created each movie as its own entity, and as a result, while they are a little stronger as a trilogy, they stand on their own incredibly well. And I think that is the real strength to the trilogy that Nolan has created, because they were each their own movie.
One issue though I had with it was Scarecrow. Now the first movie, I understand he was a villain in that movie, fine. In the second movie, he just downplayed him for some reason and swept him aside. Now, I understood that it was sort of a way to sort of steer Batman towards the focus of the Joker. But it just didn't... It just looked like he just took the character and said, okay, I'm done with you now. You can go in the bin.
Well, he likes that
Focus on
actor.
the
I forget what the guy, Cillian Murphy or something like that.
Cillian Murphy, yeah.
He likes that actor. I mean, he's been in pretty much everything he's been in since Batman. Oh, he's only really...
it was just one of those things where he just didn't need to be there, you know?
Yeah, but why not? I mean...
he likes the guy. Let him. Why not use him?
No, but it's because the character wasn't...
I loved how
it
he
didn't
popped
hurt
up
the
for,
film.
For a cameo.
It's just one of my little pet peeves. It's like he didn't seem as strong as the character did in Batman Begins.
Well, I mean, he went nuts and stuff too. Like, I actually think that that's one of the reasons why the trilogy works, is because they had Cillian Murphy pop up in all three as like a way to pull a thread through the films. Like that, these villains aren't just going away, because every other Batman film in the past and every other
they've killed off everybody in all the other Batman films.
Yeah, every other film series, like a comic book and all that other kind of stuff, except for Spider-Man, where they had Willem Dafoe pop up in 2 and 3. They've had, like Joker is in the first Batman movie, and then you never see him again. Or the most you can ask for is in Batman Returns, he mentions Vicky Vale, and then in Batman Forever, she mentions do I need a leather cat suit or whatever? Like the vague mentions like that, but you never really see that this is still going on.
He keeps breaking up with all these women because he's a billionaire playboy, Tony. What more do you want from him?
Yeah, but like you never really see that out of trilogies, so I really loved that, how they could throw that in there.
I agree. I thought that first off, like Tony said, because of previous the way prior movies were handled in the older Batman movies, you never really expect him to show up again. He had his film and he's done. So, I mean, Nolan including him, even if it was in a downplayed role, it was like an awesome way to show we don't think the fans are stupid. Like, we left that end loose in Batman Begins, so even if it's just a little 5-minute scene, we're gonna tie up that loose end. And then, just for continuity's sake, well, why not throw him in the third movie? And once again, you're not expecting to see the character at all. And by the time they finally do reveal Cillian in The Dark Knight Rises, I laughed out loud in the theater. I thought it was wonderful seeing him come like kind of full circle like that. I thought it added it wasn't much, but it added to the trilogy as a whole, because the characters don't just disappear when they're done with
they don't just get locked in Arkham and never to be seen again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that. My issue was they could have at least kept the character strong. Even if it's through like a small little scene, or have him not being defeated so easily. And I found that he was just swept aside in the other two movies. He wasn't.
See, would you have wanted the Scarecrow to have more of a focus if it meant taking away from someone like Heath Ledger's Joker?
But I'd rather that he didn't have any focus at all. If that was going to be, you either play the character towards its strengths or you don't play the character at all, and that's the problem sometimes when you it's. If going back to the Spider-Man films, where you had like Sam Raimi's focus, the what's the name, Sandman, and then you had Venom. Venom's focus lagged because of the way that Sandman was presented, as the bigger villain and the guy that he wanted to redeem, and etc. etc. Now with this, by downplaying the Scarecrow, yes, he got his other characters like off the ground there and said, right, he's not the pivotal focus of this, but you also made him look really, really weak, and hence where I felt that the problem lied. And again, it's a pet peeve because he never took up too much attention, so he's kind of an afterthought, so to speak. I would
argue that after the way things turned out in Batman Begins, the character is weak. He's been broken mentally, like he was exposed to his own gas, like through the course of Batman Begins. He's not the strong character he was in the beginning of that movie. So it doesn't exactly. I don't think it takes away as much as you feel it does, because it still fits within the flow of how things progressed.
Yeah, and the second one they reduced him to like basically no more than drug dealer, not like this massive criminal threat. He seemed nothing more than a common street peddler.
But that's the problem. He would never. The Scarecrow was never seen in that sort of light. Maybe it's because I'm too much of a fanboy and I reflect more so on the comics. But again, apart from that, the movies themselves, they do hold their own. They do have they make Batman seem more realistic, in a sense. He's not seen sort of superhero and comedic, or you don't have any of those campy overtones or unrealistic bat credit cards and people in weird freaking nipple suits. You see Batman done to justice, and from the Batman Begins, you see Bruce Wayne's sort of steady progression and how it links in, and like the Dark Knight Returns, how he's trying to beat the unbeatable, and as you go into the third movie, you also see the character's redemption in the eyes of Gotham, and in somewhat it's the character's ascension and its demise, in a sense. But again, he's left the story open, and there has been inkling that he may reprise the role for more Batman movies, which we don't know if no one's going to be directing. I don't. I think it's a very bad move. If they want to continue the franchise, they can do, but I'd rather someone else helming the cow. They could do something as easily as Battle for the Cow, and have so like Grayson and that lot sort of fighting over the right to be Batman, or like a bunch of no names, because Grayson that lot haven't sort of made an appearance, but these no name sort of characters fighting for the right to be Batman.
Well, that the main reason that I saved the comic book section for last is because, and we're going to talk a lot more about this in the next month podcast, but the Avengers films, we're going to be starting phase 2 next week, actually. We are recording this on the 24th, Wednesday night. And, a week from today, plus, an extra day, there's going to be Iron Man. It's going to be popping up, Iron Man 3. And we're going to talk about the actual Iron Man film and the phase 1 and phase 2 kind of a setup when we talk about that in the next podcast. But very quickly, to kind of transition us from one to the other, let's end off with Iron Man 3. And do you guys think that it's weird that Iron Man 3 is starting off phase 2, or do you think that it's perfectly okay? Because in my mind, I think it's a little disappointing that we had Iron Man 2 to start off. Not to start off, but we had Iron Man 2 in phase 1. I really wish we would have had a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie in phase 1 instead. to kind of set up Hawkeye and Black Widow and Nick Fury a little bit more, and then Iron Man 2 could have started off Phase 2.
Even if it was someone like Black Panther, I think having 2 Iron Man movies in the first phase kind of weakens things overall. It's obvious why they did it, because Robert Downey Jr. is amazing as Tony Stark, and him in that role will constantly make money. So I mean, so it makes sense as to why they made 2 Iron Man films in Phase 1 and the demands there. And personally, I will see any Iron Man movie if Robert Downey Jr.'s in it.
Right.
But at the same time, I do agree that it's more time spent than needed. You could have introduced a new character, a different, equally as important to the Avengers character, and saved some of that star power for further down. I don't know if they would even try to make another Iron Man movie for Phase 3 before the Avengers, as that would be entirely too much, I think. It's just they shot their load early, and I guess we'll have to see if long term it negatively affects the franchise.
I doubt it will, apart from having like sort of the number 2 with it. The whole reason I believe they did this is because they were kind of treading around trying to find their feet, hence the whole Tony Stark appearing in the Incredible Hulk movie, where it was kind of out of canon with the Iron Man, Captain America and Thor movies, because if you remember, at the end credits afterwards, he's saying he's putting together a team when he's actually been asked by S.H.I.E.L.D., to be a part of this team. So they didn't know which direction they were going to go. They didn't know which way they were going to do it. And I believe that's because at one point they were relying Jon Favreau to bring the project into fruition, and instead they went a different way, which is great in my opinion. It's showing his character. He's going from strength to strength. What I'm more concerned about at the moment is the content that we're going to be seeing with Iron Man 3, and that's because we've got a whole new director. Shane Black is not tried and tested, and he kind of balls things up a little bit. So I want to see. He's kind of the bizarro Nolan, in a sense, where everything Nolan touches turns to gold, everything Black touches turns to shit. So we get to see what happens. Hopefully that's not going to be the case, and we get to see more jump-off points. But I believe part of Phase 3, Phase 4, you probably won't see an Iron Man movie as part of Phase 3. They may, not decide to not do another Iron Man movie until Phase 4, and then, Iron Man 4 will be part of Phase 4. We never know.
I don't think we're having Phase 4. I think Phase 3 is going to be the end of things. That itself is going to be a trilogy.
See, I don't.
They've actually said, and I believe Marvel editor-in-chief Joe Quesada actually said that they're going to just continue this for as long as they can.
Yeah, there's no way, because due to how popular trilogies are, everyone would naturally think, so I guess 3 phases will be the end of it. But the way I look at it, this is Marvel establishing a long-term movie franchise in the vein of like the James Bond films. I think eventually, so long as they make money, the phases are going to keep rolling out, and eventually roles like Tony Stark, they're going to become James Bond, where it's going to be, all right, well, who's the new actor that's going to fill this role for this? And give it 15 years from now, we're going to see an Avengers cast. There's going to be an Avengers movie where each key member is played by a different actor than the one we've already become familiar with.
But the story, the continuity, the universe will stay the same, which is going to be the main thing about this. And it's going to work. I believe it will work wholeheartedly. But I doubt that they're not going to, that they're going to end it. It will continue, and it will keep continuing as long as, the characters are fresh, as long as people keep buying tickets to watch this. And I think the big test, as Sean states it, will be when these characters transition to new actors. Because we're going to see, they're going to play and see, will they be as bankable? And, my guess would probably be yes.
Well, does anybody have any last thoughts about movie trilogies in general?
Yes. We have not discussed the greatest movie trilogy of all time.
The Santa Claus?
Ooh, I didn't think
Attack
of
of the
that.
Although I do
Killer
like how
Tomatoes.
they end it with the escape clause. That's kind of perfect.
Hmm.
Tin
Well,
Mountain joke.
The greatest movie trilogy of all time is the unofficial Nic Cage trilogy of the late 90s. That is Con Air, Face Off, and The Rock.
Do you hear how hard I'm sighing?
I would call it a trifecta. Not really a trilogy.
Aren't you going to add, like, Nicolas Cage in a cage?
What?
The SNL short, Nicolas Cage in a cage.
Did you guys see that College Humor video where it's Nicolas Cage's agent and how Nicolas Cage never turns down roles?
Yeah.
That cracks me up.
It's literally the same movie with a different title. Schindler's Pissed.
This time, he's coming for revenge.
Hey, you think that's funny, but just look at like they had Taken, and he made a movie Stolen.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, the bees! The bees! Ah! Not the bees!
Why? It's
Gotta
funny.
get a note.
I've got a funny story about that movie because a couple of friends and I, we rented the Nicolas Cage version of The Wicker Man because some of my friends who had seen it in the theaters for God knows what reason, they just raved about how like it was hysterical. It was one of the most ridiculous things that they had ever seen. So we rented it expecting nonstop greatness because we had heard stories about Nicolas Cage abusing women and running around, and like it sounded amazing. So we're watching this movie, and my friends and I we're kind of falling asleep because the first like 90% of the movie totally blows.
Yeah, it gets good at
And
the
then
end.
it's so funny because at the end when he starts fighting back and he beats this one woman, and like we're talking, we weren't expecting anything at this point. We thought we had gotten played, and so Nicolas Cage just owns this chick, and we're like, oh my god. And then the euphoria calms down a bit, and it's like, dude, let's just turn this off. That's probably the only time. And as my friend is saying that, he fucking like side kicks this chick into like a wall of pictures and stuff. And maybe we'll watch the rest of this. And he puts on that bear suit and he's running in the woods, and that chick like tries to stop him. He doesn't even stop running. He just punches her in the face and keeps going. And the last 20 minutes made that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally when I saw it, I was just the same as you. I was like, oh, this is boring. As soon as that happened, I could not stop crying with laughter. I was at the point where I just felt like I was going to piss myself watching him just go through there and just randomly punching defenseless women, to the point where he ends up, after all that, he ends up getting beaten down with a fucking bee hat put on him and then burnt alive.
Oh, the bees!
Not the bees! Ah!
My favorite part of that movie was when they broke his legs.
Ah!
Because you were
My legs!
Nicolas Cage and you deserved to have your legs broken.
Any last thoughts from anyone about the movie trilogies?
Yes, Nicolas Cage, do more movies like The Wicker Man.
Just do Wicker Man 2 and 3.
No, he needs to do Ghost Rider 3 and be just the Wicker Man but on fire all the time.
And just randomly punch out women.
It could be both
Oh,
Ghost
it
Rider
burns.
3 and Wicker Man 2.
Yeah.
It burns! Ah!
Oh, it hurts.
He has the power to control burning, flaming like wicker bees.
Look into my eyes! Ah, it burns! Not the bee!
Well, if that caps us off for the movie trilogy talk, then the only thing left to do is to throw out some plugs. So I'm going to start with Mike Paden.
All right. Well, Brandon and myself come from a podcast as well called the Keeping Kayfabe Podcast, where wrestling is still real to us.
Damn it!
And we've just gone live. We've joined the Dream Elite Radio family at blogtalkradio.com/Dream Elite, so you can catch us on Thursdays every week at 9 p.m. You can call in, you can tweet to us, and we have a regular panel of guests that come on. Mike Burhan is there very often. We have a few other guys who are going to be rotating in as we are live now. And, of course, you can join us now by calling in. So please join us if you like talking about wrestling. I'm sure Brandon has some other things to talk about with radio shows. And that's all I got right now because I'm tired. Good night, everybody.
He's literally just going to break off the call. He's done.
Right, John boy.
All right, Brandon.
Like I said, as Mike says, I am a part of the Dream Elite Radio Network family. I host Sportaholics Anonymous, the not rip-off title of this, where we talk about sports because we're normal people who watch sports, and we talk sports, where we talk sports about talking sports. That is every
porn and then sports.
Sometimes, well, we really talk about whatever the fuck I want because it's my show and no one's gonna fucking hold me to the format. So what's up with that? So that's every Wednesday, 8 p.m. from 10 p.m. On dreamelite.com/radio and blogtalkradio.com/dreamelite and on iTunes and on all that stuff. Other than that, look me up on Twitter, Facebook, Google me because I'm on that internet, and don't pay attention to any of those crappy articles. That's not true, and it's slander.
Ronnie?
I think he died.
All that. Well, Ronnie is, I don't know, we might have a little connection problem here. Ronnie, obviously, of course, with everybody else, is a contributor to Fanboys Anonymous, so check out whatever he has. I know he has something in the works for another post, so you guys can stay tuned for that. Burhan.
Not the bees! Ah! That's me done.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it. That was his only plug. Was for bees.
Or for the bees.
Oh man.
All right then. If there's no nerd genius or anything like that, then Sean.
Oh, they know me.
Do you guys know what we forgot about before I plug things? Tremors. You should feel ashamed.
Oh, we
You should
should.
all
God.
feel ashamed.
Kevin Bacon.
Anyway, now that I've brought that blemish on American film to light, I, as some of you probably don't, or maybe do know, you can also hear my lovely voice on the I Got Gameplay podcast. We try to record once a week, updates as frequently as possible, blah, 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 blah. I also write articles for this lovely website, Fanboys Anonymous. I don't know that I have much else to talk about. So
Not the bees! Ah!
if you like Burhan talking about bees, you like hearing my lovely voice, and the stammering of me trying to gather my thoughts in one cohesive sentence from the chaos that is my brain, join us on I Got Gameplay.
And see more bees and more reviews of Nicolas Cage movies.
And more reviews of Nicolas Cage-based video games.
Well, of course.
And
Not the bees, the video game.
I don't know for sure if we are going to be allowed to do it or not, but I am hoping that we will be able to actually film interviews with people in the line waiting for Iron Man 3 on the midnight show. My local movie theater that I've tried to get in contact with to see if we can film there, they haven't quite gotten back to me yet. So you might see that on this YouTube channel. You might not. If you do, then more than likely you'll be seeing Sean as a part of that as well, because Sean always goes with me and everybody else in the area, Nick and so on and so forth, Ronnie, Sam, a lot of different people are from the same area here. So you guys can check that out if we are able to do it. If not, then the next time that we'll see you will be the next month podcast, which will be about Iron Man 3 itself, a review and kind of a retrospective look at the other Iron Man films, as well as Phase 1, and a little talk about what we're excited for Phase 2. So that does us in for this latest roundtable discussion meeting, and as far as I'm concerned, this meeting is adjourned. Check out fanboysanonymous.com and all the other Mango Tree associated websites, outonlimbs.com and smartguymoment.com, and we will see you next time, everybody.
Beware the bees.
This is the part where we throw the dirt on the fire like the Midnight Society.
Well, let me ask you guys one little question before we go. If Nicolas Cage was Superman, would he go, "Not the kryptonite"? Ah!
I'm actually more of a planetary protector.
See you next time, everybody.